Hey everybody, today it is Thursday, February 25th, and you are watching Talk with T.LO. I am Teresa Lo, aka T.LO. Today we have the hilarious comedian Kirstin Ridout, and she will be joining us shortly, so we're just waiting for her to enter the Zoom room. Cool story is that I used to be the what is it called? I used to be the host of the Flappers Student Mic, and I stopped doing it this year. Kirstin has now taken over, and she is doing a wonderful job. So you're going to get to meet her. She has a lot of high energy, and I found her to be very fun. Okay, so waiting for her to enter. I wonder if I lost her. I think she actually, is she even in the room? Did I lose her? Okay, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. I think I might have actually accidentally lost her, but she will come back. Weird. Oh wait, she is back. Okay. Okay, hey, there you are. There you are. Hey, Kirstin, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. What is new with you?
Oh my God, so much is new with me. So this past month has been all the changes. So I quit my job. I've moved back with my parents. So I'm doing all the big life changes all at once.
Oh, okay. So, what was your former job? Do you have a new job? I'll break down each part of what you said.
Yeah, let's say there's a lot to unpack here. No,
Yeah.
my former job was in a corporate office, doing like admin kind of work and stuff. I absolutely hated it. So it's not a sad thing to be leaving, but a little scary in that I don't have another job. So I was kind of like, I feel like I'm done, and I just kind of pieced out, and I've never done that before. So
I love it, and I want to ask you more about that. Soul Assassin is in the crowd. He's saying, "Hey, Teresa. Hey, Soul Assassin. Welcome,
hello.
also Kirstin." So, what about the job made you just like quit without leaping to another one? How bad was it? Like, what was happening?
It was progressively worse. So it was always like this intense job, like really high stress, demanding kind of stuff. For an administrative job, I was kind of like, come on, like I'm not saving lives over here. I'm typing reports. But so it was always very intense. I had a boss that was quite demanding, and I can do that. Like, that's no problem. Fine. That's the job. But it just started to like wear me down and wear me down. And instead of getting more comfortable in it, it got more intense. They were like, hey, you look like you could handle more work. Let's give you some more here. And let's downsize and give you a little bit more over here. And it just like was getting quite overwhelming. So right before I guess the world started ending last year, I was kind of like, I think I'm done. I think it's time to go. And then COVID happened. And I was like, this is probably the worst time to look for a job. So I'm going to kind of hang in here. Right. So, and then it got kind of quieter because there wasn't as much work and we were working from home. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And then everything went back to normal. So, yeah.
Back to office, or just more like the stress level went up?
More like the stress level, and then they were starting to get us into the office, but it was kind of like everywhere else. Like I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and like basically as we would go into the office one day a week, all of a sudden they'd be like, no, you can't now we've got to put new restrictions on. So we were mainly working from home, so that was all right. And I hated the idea of going in, I think, anywhere in the office at this point, just because it's scary. You can get exposed to anything, and they were doing like what they could, like they were putting little plexiglass screens around our cubicles and stuff, and I'm like,
Protected. The COVID just lives on those screens. Like, I don't get the reasoning behind it. It's like almost like outdoor
exactly.
dining, but inside a tent. It's like this, it made no sense. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And like I kind of feel like my job especially does not need me to physically be somewhere. Like I could do my job on a beach somewhere. I don't know why I never chose that option, but it's like I need a laptop and an internet connection. And so I hated the idea of going back, and they were always like, let's get everyone back in the office, team spirit. And it's like, I don't feel like that's team spirit for me. So yeah, it was just getting like wild. But then this is the other piece of it, is that Vancouver's expensive. Again, I think just like LA and like most places, like it's hard to, have your own apartment and do all that stuff. And so this job allowed me to have that independence in my own place and like all that other stuff. So I was starting to like create a plan where I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move back home, save some money. I'm going to find a new job. And then I'm going to quit this job and I'm just going to seamlessly transition and everything works out. And it didn't. So,
But wait, why did it not?
so basically, I did the moving back home piece and that was great. And then I was like, okay, phase two, let's find a job. And it was just getting worse and worse. And I could just feel like there's just the amount of pressure and the intensity and the amount of workload, they just kept piling on and piling on. And I was like, I don't feel healthy anymore. Like all of a sudden, I don't feel good. And I reached out to like my therapist who I hadn't talked to in like a year. And I was like, hey, like, I don't know, this is kind of where I'm at. And he's like, that's kind of, because I was like, give me some tips to make it through here. And he's like, this is toxic. Like he uses, like, I can't tell you to stay. And so I basically the next day just kind of went, I'm done. I'm out.
I love that because yeah, I'm always a big advocate of just leave. I mean, people just quit. I tell everybody, it's like if it's bad, just quit.
Oh yeah.
If you have something like you're already at home, so that kind of helped too. Yeah,
that's what made it work because like I think if I had been at home sooner, I probably actually would have left sooner as well. But just having that like security blanket, because I had to like stay until my lease was up on my apartment because I had just moved there. And so like it's like I've got to kind of wait till January and I was just struggling to make it through. So but yeah, and you know what, like I feel great. Like it's just like this weight.
That's really fascinating too with jobs where they think it's like the old school way where like we don't know we could leave. Like
yes.
like we all know now. It's like you actually have to treat us nice or pay enough to justify the mistreatment. And a lot of companies, like I don't know, if did you feel like the pay justified the treatment? Like, or did you feel like they're like, for this pay, I should be, you should be nice to me?
That was part of it. This job paid quite well. And I was like,
at least they paid well. Okay.
At least they pay. Yeah. So there was like always that, well, like I can save some money. I can do this. Like there were good things there. Like I definitely don't want to make them out to be like these horrible monsters. But
see that it's just more like there's not enough to make you stay.
Exactly.
Because sometimes
that was it.
Money, it's like sometimes the money just isn't even enough either way, no matter what people pay, but like, so I mean, I've had this conversation before with other guests where I would be like, minimum wage jobs need to treat people right because you could leave and find jobs anywhere, so at least
absolutely
when they pay more, it kind of can justify a little bit, but
a little bit. And then I think though, then they start to feel like it does justify those longer hours and that kind of like intensity. Well, like, come on, you're making good money here. And I think what I've learned is that I don't care about the money as much, like, I mean, if future employers are listening, I do care about the money very much. I need a lot. But
there's a magic number of what your threshold will be. Like,
absolutely.
I am at McDonald's and like no one treats me bad and I could just like flip burgers all day, but no one yells at me, I probably would take it. But the minute someone yells at me, I'm like, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What's the threshold? Yeah. No,
totally.
But that's cool. And I like that you were like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to choose my happiness. And do you think though, because you're already making moves to leave before the pandemic, but do you possibly the pandemic, and I mean, this has happened to me where I'm like, there's so much death and like we're stuck at home, just like kind of sad, where it's like life matters so much, where it's like, this is all we have, and that's I guess one thing that I've taken from the pandemic, like make your life your own.
Absolutely. And, even when I did talk to my boss about it, who was very understanding, like he got it. He was like, no, I get it. Like you've had a lot of changes in your life and this pandemic. And like, he's like, I completely understand this. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, but that's exactly it. Like, I think before I was like, oh, I'm just going to get out of here and get whatever. And now I'm just like, I'm going to leave, but I'm going to find something I really like too. Like, I'm not just going to jump to like the next thing, which is I've done my whole life. Like I have never left a job without another job lined up. Like this is new scary territory for me for sure.
I love that. I remember I worked at this really crappy media company and I already knew they were going to take advantage because they made you sign this paperwork that said you get a non-exclusive with them, but they're paying you like a regular salary, not like a big giant money, right? They made you sign that. Then they called you a 1099 and not a W-2 just so that you don't get unemployment, just so you have to pay your own taxes. Like nothing was in the benefit of me.
Yep.
And like towards the end, when I finally had enough, is like I was creating a lot of viral content for them. And I was kind of like, hey, you know, can I get at least a better title? I would like more money, but at least a better title. And they were just kind of like, no, we don't want to give that to you, but we'll give you more work. And I was like, I was like, why would I want? But then the more work was they wanted me to develop TV shows for them. And I actually knew that they had actually prepositioned like other like WGA type of writers to create stuff for them. And they just didn't like the content, but they wanted me to do it for free, but they're paying people like on the side, which bothered me. But then I was like, well, can I get something in writing saying that I get the credit and the money if the show goes? And they're just like, well, you're right, working for us. Like this is our idea and you're just a researcher. And I was like, I'm not the researcher if I came up with a TV show concept for you. And so I thought to myself, like, I gotta leave because if I make the next American Idol and they put their names on it, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yes.
I can't work here. And so I just like took a leap and like my friend and I tried to launch a startup and it completely failed. But I was like, I'd rather do that than like work for these like people. And so I just was like, bye money. You know?
Yeah.
I felt so much happier. So I'm glad that you're happy too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting.
What is it like though to like move back in with your parents?
I mean, I'm fortunate in the first sense that I get on well with my parents. So like in that sense, like we've always had a really good relationship. So like it wasn't like a horrible thing, like, oh no, we're just gonna move in and fight. And it's like it's my second time around doing this. Like I've come back before. So we kind of know what the dynamic is like and everything that way. But yeah, it's been interesting. Like I'm just like, I mean, really, guys, I need a room and a Wi-Fi connection and I'm happy. So they're like, okay. So I'm in the guest room that's designed for their grandchildren because my sister has a bunch of kids.
Okay.
So it's fun. Like I sleep in a bunk bed, a child-sized bunk bed. So I feel like it's like, I'm welcome, but don't stay too long. You know, we're supporting you, but don't get too comfy.
Right. And they're just like reminding you like children can be here. So it's kind of like supportive, but reminding you a little.
Yeah, like on either side of me in this room are toys and kids' books and everything. So I just like, I feel like, okay, I'm definitely a guest, but I also feel like I am reverting back to like a kid, like that dynamic comes right back, you know, like I'll come downstairs and be like, you know, what's for dinner? And I mean, I have been told on numerous occasions to clean my room. I've only been here a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, so you know, we're really kind of getting back into it. So in that sense, yeah, like it's been interesting, but yeah, we get along really well. I think like we fight about the most stereotypical things, like literally the thermostat is like the biggest fight here.
But that sounds good. So it sounds like a very peaceful place, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So it's been really good in a supportive environment in that, like, you know, I'm like, hey, I quit my job. And they're like, okay. So, all right, we're gonna.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
so good. And like, so do you have children or are you single? Like, what's your status?
Yeah. So no kids. I have a cat who's awesome. So I will work him into every conversation. I'm shocked I made it this long without bringing him up. He is my everything.
That's so funny. Yeah, because I am also single with a cat. And so it's like I've this past month I've gotten back onto dating apps. Are you on dating apps?
I am not on dating apps. Those things terrify me.
Are you interested in dating? Or are you completely like, I'm just single and like not looking, or what's going on?
Well, basically, like I guess over a year ago, I did split with my second husband. So at that time, I was like, I am not interested in anything. And so, like, I mean, that's changed that viewpoint. But at that time, I was like, absolutely not, don't need anything. So that's why I was in this like apartment all by myself and everything. And then, like, kind of as like I kind of got out of that initial mindset, I was like, I still don't like the idea of dating apps. Like, I don't like the idea of having to like sell myself in a few words and a few photos. I'm like, you need to get to know me first. And I've rebelled against them because of that. So that makes it very interesting to try to meet people in a pandemic when you refuse to be online. And so yeah, stubbornness. But it's been interesting. Like, I mean, I have still like I've still meet people like through like kind of more like Zoom things and comedy and stuff like that. I mean, there certainly is someone I'm like very interested in right now. And so like I'm finding my way without the dating apps, but I've literally never even created an account. I wouldn't even know where to start with one.
Wait, so you're meeting people through the comedy Zoom. Does that mean that he's a comedian?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And also in the crowd, Anthony is saying he agrees with you about the dating apps.
Thank you, Anthony. Like those things are scary.
I know, like I've had so many horror stories. I'll share them with you in a second, but I want to hear about this like comedian romance. Like,
No. I feel like he's probably watching, which is like making this super fun. No, there is like somebody like I like it's through all this, like through comedy, which is something I've actually found like through the pandemic, which is probably like my favorite thing, is that I was always a huge fan of stand-up comedy. I've done other performing, was on like broadcasting and radio for years and stuff, but never gave stand-up comedy a try. And when I got into it, what I loved was how vulnerable it was, and like how you really started to like, I mean, within like minutes of like taking my first flappers class, like we were just like getting into it and like telling people things that like, I mean, it was amazing. I was like, this is therapy. I am telling people things like I don't normally tell them, or especially not on like the first time you meet everyone. And it's like, well, here's everything that went wrong in all my relationships. And, here's my relationship with this person. Yeah. So I found that actually ended up paving the way to be a very interesting way to make like some amazing friendships, and then some stuff that's, I'd say, developed a little bit more than that. But like, I don't know, like I don't know where we stand completely. So I'm just like, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm just crazy about this guy. But
you feel a little bit like these on, or have you seen them in person yet, or is it all online? So you developed a love affair through Zoom, essentially. Romantic. I like this. Yeah, like do you talk to them privately, or is it all just okay. So
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Online long distance romance is what you're saying?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like that's where I'm coming from on this side. I think he knows what I feel, but we haven't really like dug into it a lot, but we do talk a lot and we spend a lot of time together. And like I said, I think it's just that, I don't know, I think that comedy and that just being open and completely like looking at yourself and expressing to the people is what really did it. And that's what I love. Like, I just want to like dig in. Which goes back to the dating apps, where I'm like, how can I get all that across in a dating app?
Yeah, and also the dating app, at least from what I've been experiencing, because I think I shared this before you, or with an open mic, where I was dating a guy I met off an app, and then it turned out he was like married, and I was like, oh, so crazy, right? And then like in the past month, I went back on these dating apps, and I've encountered like so many liars. Like one guy, I matched with him, and I tried to Google him because he said he had a PhD, or he was getting a PhD at USC, and they always post that stuff on the website. Couldn't find him, and I was like, why aren't you on the website if this is you? And he's like, oh, and then finally I broke him down. He told me that he gave me a fake name. And I was like, why would you give a fake name? Like, what are you doing? And then like, I was on Tinder, and Tinder's the hookup app. So like when people would like talk to me for a while and then try to be like, come over. And I was like, oh, well, that's what this app is for. So I just ignore them. But then on like Hinge, which is supposed to be the more relationship one, I got the same thing. And I was kind of like, everywhere it's like a mess. So it's like, the apps are bad, but also it's like, where else are you going to meet people,
Well, this is the thing. And I mean, like, I think just dating can be bad too. Cause like I've had that similar thing when I was dating somebody that like it was just like a complete web of lies with this one guy. And it was like, yeah, he had a girlfriend initially. And then like at towards the end, like it was just like it came out that like he had like a secret kid he never told me about. Like it was just like, so he didn't need a dating app to completely
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And like when you caught them, did they ever just like come clean or did more lies come out?
yes, that was kind of what it was like when I finally caught him. He just was like a waterfall where like everything just came out at that moment because I kind of just said to him, like, okay, come on, like we're obviously done. There's no reason to try to protect this anymore. Like, just tell me everything. And that's when he's like, what else? Well, I guess like, I do have a kid. And I was like, what? Literally the last thing I ever thought. Because like that guy I had dated for 3 years. That means 3 years.
Whoa.
And like I still look back and like, were there clues? Like, were people trying to tell me and I just completely missed it? Or like, how did that go down? Because like I just think back and I'm like, okay, when I was at his parents' house, there was like a picture of a kid on the fridge, and that always tweaked something in me. And I would just like look at it and be like, and I remember once asking, well, who's that kid? He goes, oh, it's like my cousin's kid or something. And I think that must have been his. And
Wait,
I think
you met his parents?
I met his parents,
They
everything.
tell you, oh, so they're
Never
in
said
on
a
it
word.
too. Oh,
So yeah, this is the thing. And like this kid, like I think they were co-parenting. Like he wasn't like, this kid lived with him or anything like that. But I think they must have known. And I don't know if he just said to them, oh, she's not cool with it, don't ever mention it, or like what? Because I'm like, why did they all like go like, okay, yeah, let's just not tell her. So I'm like,
but you know what's funny is I talked to this other comedian and he said that his friend lied to a chick and that he was in on it and like he just lied with him, and whenever they're with that girl they all told her fake stories because they were like helping the guy, and I was like, what are wrong with people? But then I think about it, it's like I had his friend and he had a girlfriend and she's from China, and so she wouldn't be in very much, and so whenever his girlfriend would be around we were like, hey, you're so great. But when she's gone, he had another girl, and then she would come around. And like, I think the other girl did know he had a girlfriend. And so she was like cool with the secrecy. But like, we all kind of just pretended, like, because we're his friend, not, I guess, the girl's friend, which is so bad.
right.
But we did kind of enable and like know that they
Yeah,
were.
because you kind of support your friends at the end of the day, right? Like there is that like code, I guess, right?
But it's like, looking back, it's like, should I do that now? Like, I feel like now if I see it, I just kind of would run away. Like, I wouldn't be a part of it, but
Yeah.
like, but even then it's like, well, his parents were like cool with not telling. That's
Yeah.
so weird.
That's
But
the part that gets me was like I had coffee with his mom at one point. Like we sat down together and like we had coffee just because she was in the area by my work, and like we ended up meeting up. So like we had like a decent relationship where we talked about stuff and things. And I'm just like, it never came up. It never was like, about this. Like it was just blew my mind. I just,
and
unless they don't know, unless that's the only other thing.
did his mom know he had a second lady too? Or
That's what makes me wonder, like, did she know, or did he just keep all that completely separate? Like I have so many questions, and I mean this was like years and years and years ago. Like I just, part of me who just wants to reach out and be like, I have follow-up questions. Like at the time I was shocked and I was like, I need to stop. But like there's just so much.
it's like we want to know, and like my cheating ex like actually wants to meet with me and like tell me the truth, and my sister was like, don't meet with him, he's gonna manipulate you, and other people are like, don't you want to know? And I was like, I do want to know, but I feel like he's just gonna lie. So I haven't met up, but like my sister's definitely on team stay away, but I don't know, like
Yeah, it is so hard because there is something to be said about closure, right? Like just to have all that and go, okay, this is where maybe I made the mistake. This is what he did. I know now and I can move on. But like, how often do we actually get closure? Like, yeah, he's probably going to lie some more. He's probably going to frame it in that story that he needs to believe or wants you to believe, right? So like,
that's true. But like even your story, you're like, whoa, 3 years. Like that, like how did he even keep the lie going? Like maybe that's like, yeah, and it makes me wonder, do you think he was a sociopath or just more like compartmentalized and as a normal person who just wanted two things? Like
I almost think it was sociopath. I do.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
but
Okay.
I kind of think just based on the way he was, because like I did catch him in like lies prior to that. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me in this relationship, but like, I think what helped him maintain it was that we were long distance for
Oh.
about a year and a half of that relationship. I'd say where things really started to go wrong. I wasn't really around that much. So I
Mm.
think that's what actually probably would have come out sooner, but he was able to kind of keep this going because like I wasn't there. But then as he was like going on, then he just started like cheating on me more. So like he's kind of cheating on me and the second family. So it was just getting like layers, right? And that looking back, it's like watching like one of those horror movies where like you're yelling at people like, don't go into the basement, what are you doing? Because like I look back on some of the stuff and I'm like, how did you not see he was at least cheating on you? Okay, the family was out of like left field, but
Oh, you know what? Maybe the reason why, if I were you as well, I would never suspect it because the family was talking to you all the time.
that's true. Yeah.
That, to me, I was like, I would never expect that. Like, and so I think that like it makes sense you wouldn't know because
Yeah.
I'd expect like a bro to lie to me, but not like someone's mom. Like, that's like,
No, I think that's what hurts the most, you know? I'm like, and I respect her. Like his mom still is like a really cool woman. Like, and so I have like so much respect for her. And I'm like, why'd you do it? Maybe that's who I need the closure from. It's
you just go back with the mom and go like shopping with her or something. Yeah,
exactly. Let's
I
just
think
have
that's
a girls' day.
yeah, because like, when people break up, you don't only just lose them, you lose like, the friends you made, the family and stuff. So it gets a little like dicey where sometimes you're like, I like that mom. I'm gonna go back and hang out.
I got on so well with her. I know that's totally the worst too, is when you like lose like the really good friend or something like that from the relationship. Like I've had that with like my big relationships for sure. Like my first ex-husband, I love that I can say that. His best friend was also one of my best friends, and I still miss that because obviously like he had to stick by his best friend and everything, but I like miss that relationship, like just like having that person. And I'm wondering like now maybe I could reach out. I don't know, like is there ever a good time to like hey, it's been a while.
What's funny? I try to actually do that. Like 10 years ago, I dated this guy and like he was kind of a dick where he didn't like my friends, but I really liked his friends. So I basically like went into his world. And so I spent a lot of time with his friends and stuff. And I liked them. And I actually tried to like reach out months after we broke up. And then they're like, oh yeah, let's meet up, but never did with me. And I was kind of like, oh, it's not gonna happen. I was kind of like
Right.
to them. And even though it wasn't a bad breakup necessarily, it's more just like, why, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
but I really felt something here, like as a friend, right?
I lost him. Why did I have to lose you? But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's like it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
And then it's like that the other awkward one is then like the mutual friends, right? So then it's like we both end up keeping the mutuals, right? And then it's like, okay, don't mention this, don't talk. I don't know, like it's that
I,
one's always an interesting dynamic.
with the mutuals though, I do feel like the mutuals take side because I've had a breakup with like I actually made a mistake. I did a comic and like we had a mutual friend and then she didn't choose him, but she spent more time with him. And after that, I was kind of like, okay, I could still be friends with her. But then I saw that she was friends with his new girlfriend type where I was like, well, I hate you all.
Yeah. How could you? You were on my side.
And now we're all done.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, so we tried to do mutual and then it just kind of became like, go over there. And she actually was really hurt, the girl, because she's like, I want to be friends with both of you. I was like, get out of here. But
yeah.
So it gets tough.
It does get tough. I feel bad almost more for the friends, the mutual friends, than like us on the outside in a way, because then they're like, because I do have some friends that have stayed on both sides, and I'm like, that must be stressful. Like I know originally, like with one breakup, like we were both invited to her birthday party, and it was just like, oh, this is gonna like ruin. I just stepped back and said, I just won't go, like just like to keep the peace, because it was like weeks afterwards. But I feel bad for them almost, because they're like, okay, what do I do here?
Yeah, no, it's true. And like I had this friend where in her friend group, a couple got divorced, and they were like, who are we gonna pick? Who are we gonna pick? And then they said that actually became really easier because once they separated, they're like, oh, we know who we like better. They all chose the guy. And I was like, how sad is that? But it's like, I guess when you really have to make a choice, the choice is weirdly kind of easy.
Deep down, we always knew who the favorite was.
Better. It's like, oh, it's so sad. But yeah, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, so I get why people, even when they're not happy, stay together. And sometimes it's like hard to like admit these things because I think we all want to be more black and white, but it's like, no, everything's a little complicated, but it's like, you know, but you have to do these things. You have to make it right, I guess. Make it
absolutely. I mean, as someone who's been through now 2 divorces, like, yeah, it's never easy, especially like in these like long-term like relationships where you're really like tied in, especially with like marriage and stuff. Like I kind of think like my last one, because we were together, well, jury's out, 6 or 7 years. We thought it was 7, and then we filed for divorce, and they're like, it's only been 6.
Oh, okay.
We dragged it out so long. We felt like it had dragged out longer. Like we literally celebrated our 7-year wedding anniversary right before we split, and then realized that wasn't it. Somewhere in that we added a year to our marriage. So like, yeah. So that was like that. Yeah. So it was like 6 years. I think if we had just been dating, probably would have been 2. But you know, it's like that marriage thing. We just kind of were like, no, come on, like we'll make this work. We're gonna stick this out. And
wow.
yeah.
So when did even the talk of let's get a divorce happen in the time you're together?
I would say the actual talk, like where we were like real talking, it was just down to the last year, but we were having issues almost immediately. And so like there was a lot coming up, but it was never a talk of splitting up. It was more just like, what can we do to make this better? What can, you know, like we were really like, no, we got this, we can do it. And we just like let that fester until we just really hated each other. And then, then it was so easy.
But it's kind of that thing, like you're saying that if you would have just dated, you would have been out in 2 years because it's a
100%.
Right? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really feel that because like there was such a pressure, and like we had kind of we didn't buy a house or anything, but we had bought a car. We had a lot of mutual friends. We really liked to host these big parties, and we loved that like social aspect of everything. So like we really clicked and got on well in that retrospect. So we didn't want to give up that. And then like even like silly things, like we had like 3 cats, and I'm like, we can't separate the cats. You can. It's like we can't, like, yeah, I don't know, like it was just like weird stuff like that towards the end. It was like, well, you know, like the kitchen stuff and like this and that, we've bought so many things together, and like it just kind of like was all these layers, right? But I think at the end of the day they're more excuses, you know. It's like, well, I mean, really
it's hard though, because you're bonded in so many ways that it's hard to unravel. Like my friend and I even talked about this with like ideology, where like even if like let's say in Texas, right, the Republicans are screwing all of those people over once that winter came, but I don't know how many people are going to be like, I'm not going to vote for Ted Cruz anymore. You know, it's like,
yes,
the thing is like sometimes you get so used to something that even if it's bad, it's hard to walk away, you know. And so it makes sense, but
yeah, it's sad that becomes your normal, right? Like that's just like, this is what it is. We can work within this, right? And
yeah, but when you finally had the talk, it was just got to the point where it's just so bad. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, like for us, it was like we were living separate lives, like especially towards the last year was like we had just started to grow apart so much that even if we say went out for dinner with friends, we would literally like, go out for dinner, yay, we're all good. And then we would go home and say not a word to each other, go to like separate parts of the apartment, the whole deal. So it was very clear that it wasn't like going well. And then when we did talk, it was like very tense and kind of like, yeah, it was just never good. So like there was a very clear like, this really sucks, but it was like having that like pressure, like just to have the conversations, and then what we ended up doing is kind of started to talk about it. It was just like, I can't see a resolution here, let's go to therapy. So we went to one therapy appointment, and the guy was like, wow, like,
you made him say wow.
And we just went off on each other for like an hour, went over this poor guy's time. Like it was well over an hour before like he even got a word in edgewise. And he was just like, I don't, like, he was great. He's a great therapist. I really like him. But he's like, I don't have any common ground here. Like you guys need to go away and come back with something that we can work with. Like to make this relationship happen. And because we were just on that many different pages. And so like we went home that night and kind of were like, there's nothing that we can agree on in terms of what we think our future would look like or anything like that. And so we just kind of went, oh, that made sense. Like we're done. And it was just like, it sounds depressing, but it was like really good. Like it just like felt like so clear after just kind of talking that out and having someone on the outside just say, hey, like guys, you done. Yeah. So yeah, then we just like yeah, we just split up like immediately that night. And then like the therapist texted the next day, how'd everything go? I'm like, oh great, like we split up. Like it's awesome. Oh.
Oh, well, also, when you're talking about the separate lives thing, do you think your friends could see it? Because you're still like going out together as a couple. Do you think that they had an inkling, or do you think everyone was like shocked?
Some people that didn't see us as much were a little surprised, but most people, it was not a surprise. I had been starting to complain about it a lot, but also you could tell that like he would be way nicer to my friends or anyone there, you know, like, so he'd just from everything, just be like, oh, you know, like, you know, he'd be asking them about they saying like, oh my God, you're so great. I love you, you know, like things like that to people. And then me be like, okay, whatever. So like, it was very clear that we were not getting along. So it was getting awkward, I think, realistically, you know, and like he would do things like, because we had mutual friends, he would go out with them for dinner and like do all this great stuff, but like wouldn't do the same things even with me. Like, so they'd be like, it's kind of weird. I just went out for dinner with them. Like, you know, as friends, we had a great time, but you two haven't been out for dinner in months. I'm like, yeah. So it wasn't a shocker, that's for sure. But what was amazing about it, again, kind of like this job, was how awesome I felt the second it was done. Like there was no, like I didn't cry over it or anything. Like, and then that's when I ended up going back to my therapist. And like I talk about this in like my stand-up act too, is that like I was like, am I repressing something? Is something like going weird? And he's like, no, like you were done this relationship years ago. Like you made peace with it. Like you're in a great place now. And like that's kind of what it was like. So I was like, why didn't I do this sooner?
That makes sense. It's so interesting because like when I was in my 20s, I dated this guy and he was like so nice, but I found him so boring. And I kept like trying to make it work because my family was like, he's nice, you should marry him. So I was like, okay, I'll keep making it work. But like people told me after we broke up, they're like, you guys had no chemistry. Like you always look like you're just so bored to be there. You know? And I was like, I always thought about it. I was like, oh, everyone can see it. It's like I don't, you know, I was wondering about that. I was like, can people see, you know, versus like social media is so fake, right? Because pictures
Yeah.
look like one thing. Like, do you think like during your marriage, did the pictures look something, or did you just stop posting pictures altogether? Were you like, wow?
Eventually stopped posting pictures, but for sure, like I was only posting nice stuff. Like if we actually went out and did something, like, oh my God, I would totally post a picture of that. But like, and it'd be like a happy, good photo. But like towards the end, like I remember we went out for dinner for anniversary. It was like so bad. Like it was like a few weeks before we finally like actually called it. So like we went out for this obligatory like wedding anniversary dinner. And I made him take a picture of me because I really liked the way I looked. And that was the picture I posted. And it's just me at dinner, just like so I mean, I think like the signs I looked good. I bought a new dress. I had like my hair done. It was great.
I don't want you in this.
I don't want you ruining this moment for me. Like this is my night.
Here next year. Don't be in the picture.
It's like when you get the guy you're just kind of dating to stand on the edge of family portraits, right? So you can crop them out. It was like that. I'm like, you're gonna be hard to crop out. Like just take a photo. No, I don't want the waiter to do it. I just, yeah.
But I always find the social media thing so fascinating because I've been watching like that Chris Watts special. He's the one who married, or not married, he murdered his like pregnant wife and their two kids in Colorado. Right. And like, you know, everyone was looking at their old photos and they looked so happy. And it's like, what was the story there? And then what I liked about that documentary is they were showing like actual texts for the same event of what you saw the pictures, you know, and you're like, oh, it's completely a different experience of what's posted online versus what's really happening. So I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I think that's, yeah. I mean, with any social media, I think like that's like such an important thing. I hope kids are learning about social media literacy or people are talking to them about it because yeah, you're seeing the version someone is choosing to put up there, right? Like whatever they need you to see or they want to see in themselves is what they're doing on social media. I mean, I think we all do that. Like who's you know, whether it's you're not posting anything or you're posting only the good stuff or you're photoshopping or you're doing whatever, right? So like yeah, it's not totally real. And
Yeah,
certainly with a relationship, yeah, like I mean, why would I want to post like being mad at him or miserable with him, right?
right.
Like I
You get to air that drama, but sometimes
exactly.
when you're talking about like sometimes the lack of something also signals a drama because like I have some friends where I'm like, where are your pictures of your husband? I was like, are you guys separated? But like I don't want to ask. And there's
Yeah.
no other data besides just the lack of pictures of him. But I feel like that's enough of a sign without having to say it.
That's totally a sign, I think, right? Like if they're you're not doing anything where you want them in your photos or something like that, isn't that weird? I don't know. I feel like
You're
that's weird.
right.
Maybe I don't know. Like maybe you're like, no, again, this is my moment. This is my Instagram. You'll just ruin my views. We need a complete makeover before you can be on my Instagram page.
Okay, we have some comments. I've been so engrossed with this, I haven't been able to say but I will say it now so that you guys in the crowd, you got your moment. So Anthony is saying, being an older guy, I always have to ask myself, where do I see a relationship going? I don't want to waste my time or yours, senseless at my age. And I like that too. Like, I think it's kind of like you got to be more honest up front.
Absolutely. I completely agree, right? Like, and if you know what you want and you're entering a relationship there, like, yeah, totally. Like, do I see myself getting what I need out of this, right?
Yeah, and just say it early. Like that's the thing is like I'd rather like for instance like that guy who tricked me, if he had told me I'm married and unhappy, I'm going to separate, I probably would have been like, let me think about this. But because of all the
Yes.
lies, I'm like, I don't believe you now. It's like just telling people the truth.
Absolutely. It's trust, right? Like, I mean, that is like literally what you need in a relationship is to trust them. If you lose that, like, there's no common ground. There's nothing to build that relationship on.
Then we also have Soul Assassin, and he's saying, we'd love to date both of you alluring women. You don't need to say anything to sell yourself. Thank you, Soul Assassin.
Oh,
And Soul Assassin, he also wants to hear us talk about foot fetish stories. Which, okay, I think we will in a second. So we will, Soul Assassin, if you're still there, sure, okay.
sure.
And then BD Fran is saying, got to hear a story about bombing on stage. Those are usually good. So I guess to, satisfy both of them, I guess we'll start with a foot fetish story. Kirstin first.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Most actually like the last couple guys I have dated are completely against feet. Like they have like no interest in them whatsoever. And which I always thought was weird because I'm like, I got cute feet. Like I've considered selling foot pictures. I haven't yet. I don't know how you break into this.
Oh my gosh, I tried to. There's a website called Feet Finder. And like you actually have to verify. So I guess that's the sell of it is that like whoever buys it knows that it's actually you. So you can't lie about your identity. And so I made a whole profile and like it's a legitimate website. It's just more of like I made a video and I was like, this is so much work. And then I got no sales. So I just gave up.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a real website and like there are people who do buy, but I just did not succeed and I just gave up. But
Well,
if you do that exists.
I'm looking for work. So maybe this is my chance.
Feet Finder is where you should
go. Feet Finder. Okay, come check me out at Feet Finder. I'll do it. So yeah, I'm open to it.
I even put my face on my profile. I felt no shame. It was literally just the amount of work because I couldn't think of things creative enough to make them look different and stuff. So I was like, I wasn't good at it.
And like I'm a runner too, so I don't know. Like I've got to put like a lot of work to keep these feet nice.
You might like that if that's the fetish itself. If you're like, oh, I have runner's feet or something like that, like they might like it.
All right. Anyone want runner's feet photos out there? Anyone?
Well, Assassin maybe because he is saying thank you for this, for giving him these stories. And he's also saying, can you both show off your bare feet and soles? Probably not now because we're at the medium shot.
I'm flexible, but I don't know about that flexible.
But like, if you want to follow Kirstin on social media, and like if she does start a feet finder soul assassin, maybe you can be her first customer. So
yeah, soul assassin, you will be the first to know. Okay.
now that I think about it, is it like soul, like our feet soul assassin? I don't know. Very clever.
Oh my God.
Thank you for the attention. I like clever. Okay. I guess my feet story. Yeah. So I had that feet finder story. And then I had a kind of a sweet story. So I shared that feet fetish failed modeling story online. And then like an artist that I really like was really sweet. He drew a picture of feet and then sent it to me. And I was like, oh, that's sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah, I was like, oh, feet can tie us all together.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Moving on to B. Dan Fran. He wants to hear about bombing on stage. So have you done stage time yet, or is it just all Zoom?
So I've done all Zoom. I have managed to find a way to bomb on Zoom though. So I have done it.
Let's hear this story.
So this one was actually an open mic with comedians. So like it was and I do lots of open mics and things like that. And this was just one where normally, like, I mean, like a comedian open mic, you don't get like the huge laughs or things like that, but you do usually get some reaction. And it was just one where that particular day, I just kind of thrown together some stuff from other sets that had done well on their own. And I just kind of slapped it together and went into the open mic and was like, I'll get some laughs, like, you know, just to kind of get some time in. And it was the first time I got no laughs. And it was just silence. And it was terrifying to me because I'd heard of people bombing. I know that people want to have that experience. So I'm like, as it's happening, I'm like, this is important for me to feel this, but I'm like, I don't like this. And I'm just staring at a grid view, because of course I'd put it in grid view of all these comedians smiling politely at me, like just.
Oh, so they're kind of smiling. Oh, if smiling like they don't like it.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, oh, okay. And like looking back, I can see exactly what I did wrong. I didn't like really prep. I don't think my delivery was in there. I just don't think my heart was in it that night. And I think that came across, you know, like I think there was so much more I could have done to like do that better. I just remember like just that sea of faces will haunt me. It's like, it's there now. I'm just like, oh. But yeah, no, I kind of was like, okay, no, it's good to feel that. It's good to feel that and learn from that and to prep before a show.
You know, you can be prepped and it really is, you just don't know what the audience is going to like or how they act. And like, especially the hard part about Zoom as well is like, really, if everybody just turns off their mics, you would never know if you got laughs. Like you basically laughing inside and you just don't know, you know? And like, that's the hard part. It sucks in real life though, to also bomb where like, when other people get laugh and then you don't, and you're like, oh, I just did bomb. It's not like,
that just happened. Oh,
me, you know, I realized like one reason, like when I bombed a lot was like, I would monologue where like, you could tell that I was like rehearsing and it didn't seem natural. And I was like, oh, okay, I know why people don't like this, but I was kind of like, I still needed the practice. So I was like, whatever, but it hurts. Like, it kind of like almost emotionally hurts you to bomb.
It does. Like, I was just like, they don't like me, you know, because like, I think that's it. Like with comedy, it's again, so personal and so vulnerable. So like when you're getting up there and you're saying like something that's true and meaningful to you and people aren't connecting with it, it's just like, okay, you don't like me, you know, like it's hard not to like, you know, take that in, but like, you know, it happens. It's fine.
Have you had this happen before where you're on a lineup, even if it's an open mic lineup, but like you're one of the few women and then you just feel like the men just aren't getting what you're saying? Or do you feel like for the most part, everyone's been cool?
I feel like everyone's been pretty cool in that sense. But I haven't been looking like that closely at the crowd as I'm doing it. Just that one time when I bombed, I was like, is everyone's camera on? Is the mics on? Oh, they're on. Okay. But generally I'm not that cognizant of it, I guess. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting like equal laughs, I think. But I've tried to also go fairly universal with my stuff. So I'm not really doing a lot of like, this is me as a woman kind of material as well. So maybe that helps connect people.
Yeah,
So
because it's really funny. It's like a few times I have seen like period jokes or something like that, or like I remember one time I went to a mic and this woman was really like literally her set was my pussy, and you're like, oh, that is a cliche, but I guess people really do sets like that.
it happens. I mean, you know, if like men can talk about their dicks, we can talk about our pussies, but at the same time, right? Like it's how it's done, I guess. And it's never going to be for everyone, whether you're talking about your dick or your pussy, right? Like it's just never going to connect with everyone.
I was like, when I heard it, it's like I'm a woman too, but I didn't get the punchline. I was like, what's the joke? You're just, you're just saying the word. It didn't feel like,
Like a shock. It felt like shock comedy more than anything, right?
yeah,
Like that's like, yeah.
To it. It's just like,
Yeah. I feel like that's like a whole other thing too. When it's like, I'm just going to get up there and like, you're going to remember me. Like, I can't tell the difference between good attention and bad attention, but you're going to remember me, I guess is kind of what they're going for. So
what made you finally decide to make the leap and do stand up?
So what happened was actually through Flappers. I was watching some of their shows. I'd seen a comedian I really liked. I started going to his shows. Zoom comedy blew my mind. I'm like, Zoom is for meetings. What? And I saw him advertise a Flappers show. So I went to a few of those shows and they gave away a comedy intensive and I won it. So I was like, and when I won, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And I thought on it. I was like, well, why not? So I went to the class and Paul Moomjean was teaching it and he's fantastic. And I just had a blast. It was 3 hours of just like so much fun and it clicked, like it full on like clicked and connected with me. And again, I was working this horrible corporate job that I hated. I used to be in broadcasting and performing and I'd lost that part of me. And I was just like, there it is. There's that spark I used to feel. And so I signed up for another one of their classes just to like start to get the ball rolling there and just have not looked back. So I just started, did the class showcase, started doing open mics, taking more classes and like just connecting with people and doing shows. And yeah, I just like, I can't get over how in love I am with it. And yeah, again, that
beauty. Yeah. Like,
yeah, totally. Like,
yeah, because I feel like that way too. Because I started like 2018 is when I took my first Flappers class. So that's when I guess I count my start. And like, yeah, before that, I went through a period where I had like friends, but probably the same 5 people. I was not meeting new people whatsoever. And then it's kind of like, I would date people and stuff, and it was kind of like not that serious. Whereas kind of like, I need to meet more people. So
yeah.
so that was like, I always wanted to do comedy, but I really wanted to make new friends. Like that was like really important to me. And so it's really funny because now I produce shows and I don't know, some people understand my psychology behind it, but a lot of it's like, I'm trying to create a community to have friends. And so it's like, I'll get sometimes comedians and they want to leave early or they are rude to other people. And I was like, no, you're violating my number one rule is we're all going to be friends.
Yes, I completely agree. I have made some of the most amazing, solid friendships now since I started all this. And it's like we have like a little group, like from the first couple classes I took at Flappers, and like, we talk all the time. We like do our own open mics together. Like they're just like some of my like best friends now, and it's like, it's so cool. And I keep meeting more amazing people, right? Like it's just, so I'm completely on this team. Like it's just great.
Because it's fun. Because I think this idea, like I've met people who are the opposite, who think they're going to be famous or whatever. And it's kind of like, yeah, you can get fame maybe, but you're not sure, right? But friends is like the kind of the main thing of like for the now. If you're looking at fame, maybe that's 10 years from now. But for the now, it's like, I want to enjoy myself and make friends. And so when I meet people who are very like backstabby or they want to give up like their lives for comedy, I'm like, why? Like,
yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about like your group of people, where it's like you guys have all made friends, and I think that's like really important.
It's awesome. Like, it's like when I look at, like, so many people have had like a rough 2020, and like, yeah, like parts of it were horrible, right? But like when I look at it, like that year, is like cheesy as it sounds, was like really awesome for me, because like there was so many positive things, and I just met so many positive people and found this like amazing community and skill set and stuff that like I'm just like, this has been so cool. Like I
Yeah.
can't even express how awesome it has been, you
Yeah, even
know.
this whole Zoom thing, what I kind of like about it is like, for instance, you live in Canada, but it's like
Mhm.
we still got to connect, you know, and I feel like
Yeah.
because I go to the student mic like quite often, I get to see you quite often where like we start
Yes.
building this like rapport, which is cool. It's like I would never get to do that if we all weren't starting to be online and get used to being online.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even be doing comedy. Like I don't like that wouldn't have even come up if the Zoom comedy wasn't a thing, you know, and certainly wouldn't be doing shows in the States and through flappers and stuff. Like it just I absolutely love that, you know, and I have also met people like who are like coming in from Germany and things like that, you know, like so it's so cool. And now all I want to do is just like all this to like, you know, borders to open up and stuff so I can just come and meet everybody now. Like that's my next thing. Like, okay, now we need to meet in person.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that because I am so isolated where like I just stay at home all the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
are people not allowed to internationally travel right now, or like what are the rules?
It's kind of sketchy. Like I know in Canada, like now you have to, I think it's like a $2,000 hotel stay you have to do if you come back from non-essential travel. Like so they're really quarantining people. It's like it's they're stepping it up. And so they've had the borders kind of closed for recreational travel for a while out here now. So you really can't. I think you can go if you really want to, but like it's a little challenge coming
Yeah.
back. And you know, it's probably not the smartest thing to do at this moment. Like we're so close to getting vaccinated and all that stuff. So like I've, you know, got to be patient, but um yeah, it's we've had like this is something I've been working on some bits about what it's like living with COVID and things. And one of the funny things is that Americans do sometimes sneak into Canada on the Vancouver border by saying they're driving to Alaska, and it's a loophole. So,
Yeah, because it's okay, but then
but they keep getting in, and they'll see them having like dinner at like a Vancouver restaurant. And it's happened a lot. It's like, come on, guys, like fool me once, right?
fool me 20 times, but the
Yeah.
21st time I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, Canada, come on.
Also, are Canadians, I mean, you're very nice. So are Canadians, you know, like that's the reputation. Is that true? Are most
I
people
think so. I mean, like, I think we're pretty nice. I don't think we're as like, you know, like there's like that nice Canadian stereotype where everything's great here and like that. And I don't think that. Like, I think we certainly have our issues, like whether they be like human rights things or political or things like that. Like there are, it's not a perfect country by any means. I love it. I think it's super cool. And I mean, all my friends are awesome. So, but yeah, like, and there is like some stuff that I find that's so normal here that gets a lot of laughs when I talk to people like our Mounties and things like that. So Canada does have some like inherent silliness and charm and stuff for sure. So definitely recommend everyone come and visit in Vancouver when all this is done.
That's so cool because it's interesting because Americans are kind of known for their selfishness. Like, I mean, the mask, anti-mask thing is like revealing that, right? But
Mm.
are Canadians like that at all?
There's a little bit. There's certainly people that have the issues with the masks. But for the most part, like I haven't had any issues with like people not wearing masks. Like you go into a store and it's like you have to. Okay, like pretty much everyone there
Oh,
is
isn't like mom
obeying that.
here where they like
Yeah.
screaming and being Karen. So there's no Karens in Canada.
I think there are. I don't want to say there's not, but I think there are. But it's funny. You know where I see it the most where people aren't wearing masks is outdoors. Like that is something that like we're still like it's like this weird gray area. And like when I go out for a run, I will wear a mask. Like, you know, I have like the sports masks now and all that stuff. And I do get some people doing like the pointed looks at me like, what you doing? Like you're outside. It's cool, right? And it's
Oh,
like,
okay. But that could
so
that's
it is there.
anti-mask. They're just being they have their own thoughts on science, I guess.
Yes, I
Okay.
think that is definitely a universal thing that we have to worry
No
about.
one believes science.
No one wants to believe science. We have the best access to information ever. And we believe it the least. It's like, you know what? Like I read this on Facebook and I kind of think this is better than what this doctor said. So
This meme told me, so I'm gonna listen to this meme. So
I got a good feeling about this meme. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
So we've almost hit the hour. So we're just gonna ask one more question from B Dan Fran, and then we'll end it on that. So B Dan Fran is saying, fact, Canada is known for the quantity and quality of her dominatrixes. Only some of us are nice. So I guess B Dan Fran is from Canada as well. Do you agree or disagree with B Dan Fran?
Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna have to agree, especially when we're talking quality of anything. So
Wait, so there's a lot of dominatrixes in Canada?
I think isn't like Whistler also like the sugar daddy capital? Like there's all sorts of fun stuff that goes on here too. So like, you know, it gets cold here. We got to stay warm whatever ways we can. So
and is it kind of like when you're talking about the dominatrixes, like does he mean like dungeons and stuff, or just people like lifestyle just doing it a lot?
I think that lifestyle is like very welcome here. Like there used to be like this amazing nightclub. It's closed now, but it's nights have stayed on where there was like Sin City, like fetish nights and things like that. And that was just very open and comfortable here. Like it wasn't like a taboo thing or anything like that. And that culture is very vibrant and alive here. So like you can see club nights that cater to that. And yeah. So like it's definitely alive and well here. And Vancouver's like, it's hip and cool here too, right? So I'm speaking for Vancouver. I think the rest of Canada is great, but Vancouver's the cool one. So
you're saying though in Vancouver they're very like open-minded and like people can be free there. It sounds
absolutely, at least in my experience, like that's kind of the circles like I have always run in where like you're pretty welcome here. And I think that is true. Like, I mean, again, nowhere's perfect. There's certainly people that are more closed-minded than others, but you can easily see that these club nights are happening. It's not like a secret underground thing where you need a special handshake or anything like that. Like it's a good community that's out there. Yeah.
Like LA, for instance, it's like if you just Google dungeons or parties or something, they all pop up. But it's like for the most part, it's like I don't know how open non-professional people are about themselves. And so is Canada, are they people open, or is it just more like only if you go to the parties would you know?
That's a really good question, because like the people I talk to are like my friends and stuff, like we're all very open with each other. We know what like happens. So I can say like, you know, in that sense, but I think, yeah, otherwise it would be if you just went to one of these events, that's how you would become part of this community. So it's not like you're going to be standing in line at Starbucks or something and the person behind you is going to be telling you all about it. I maybe they would, I don't know, but like
so it's like a normal thing where it's like if you do it you're not broadcasting it, but you're not necessarily ashamed.
Yeah, I mean that's how I see it. So
yeah, I like that. That's cool. Canada sounds so fun. It's like
Canada's awesome.
B-Dan Fran gave you the peace sign. So
yeah, B-Dan Fran gets it.
Okay, Kirstin, so we hit the 4:00 mark, a little over, but this was super fun. Where can people find you? And yes, Soul Assassin, if she sells her feet, please buy some pictures.
Yes, come on, Soul Assassin. So I'm at Kirstin Out, just like the name on the screen there. If you can see it on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all the same username there. I'm going to be doing a show at Flappers Sunday night. You can see the link on my Instagram there for that one.
Okay, awesome. So this whole live stream will be available on patreon.com/Teresa Lo Writer. And then I will put up a clips later on, but I don't know when. So if you want to watch it again, subscribe to my Patreon. But we're here every Monday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. All right, thanks, Kirstin. Thanks for coming out.